What's up, guys? Welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another Versus video, where I take on the hardest contents in the global version of the game. In today's video is the very first boss rush in the global version, so we're going to take a look at that. We're going to talk about the fight itself, my recommendations, and of course how to deal with some of the Lufenia orbs. We'll go through each and every one of those, and hopefully I can give you guys some tips as well, so you guys will be able to beat this fight no problem. Now, before we do start, however, I would like to ask you guys to leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help the channel and I would really appreciate it. So with that in mind, let's start this video. Okay guys, so this boss rush consists of 3 waves. So you got the bombs, the first wave, you got those killings in the second wave, and you've got the sort of Bahamut boss in the third wave. So essentially the ideal clearance for this particular boss rush is you've pretty much finished the boss rush with 2 parties. So with boss rushes, I would highly suggest, if you are new to boss rush or you want to know more about it, is actually I would suggest you take a look at 40's video and regarding what boss rush are, and you know, they actually gave quite a few tips as well there, and I would be reiterating some of them here in this video as well. So essentially you need 2 parties for this one in order to get all the rewards, and the party I went with with my first party is going to be Gladio, Kurosame, and Furion. So the idea here is to basically do as much damage as you can in 50 turns, right? So I would highly recommend using your LDs, using your EX, using every single one of your abilities as much as you can. Don't bother with your HP attack plus, or however many pluses that they add in the future. Just use your abilities, because they're going to do a ton more damage. So that's why I have Kurosame to do extra HP damage, because of his debuffs, of course, is very, very useful. Other useful things that I would highly recommend is characters that can do counter, because that doesn't add to your turn count. So Gladio is a very good choice. If you have Gao is pretty good. If you have 8 is pretty good. They can counter and they're going to do a ton of damage. So all those characters that can counter, they're very, very good. Now, other characters that are very, very good are characters like not Leon, I was going to say Furion. Furion has a debuff that will do damage, you know, on the enemy's turn, and it's sort of like a trap. So if you have traps like the Emperor, you have who else has that? Cater has that as well. X-Death is another one that, you know, he does damage with his debuffs on the enemy's turn. This doesn't add up to your turn count, however you are dealing some HP damage. So every one of those are very, very helpful. Trey is another character that does this. He has sort of some traps as well. So, you know, these characters are going to be very, very helpful. And of course, if you have brave battery characters to accommodate those characters as well, they're going to be very, very helpful. So let's talk about the fight wave by wave. Now, the first boss actually doesn't have any Lufenia orbs. The idea here is to just do as much damage as you can on the main boss himself. The other small bombs will just take, I would just highly recommend having some sort of splash damage here, and your splash can deal with those. They aren't that much of a threat anyway. They may do some HP damage, but if you have Furion, or if you have an alternative healer like, say, Rude, you're gonna be fine. They're not gonna cause you too much trouble. Now, as for wave 2 though, when the killings, basically you will need to knock them back in order to increase their Lufenia orb count. But as you guys can see, I don't actually have a character that can do that. And I accidentally made a mistake where my call characters aren't exactly able to knock back or initiate a chase as well. So if you are using the same party composition that I have, I would highly recommend having Cloud as your call buddy, just in case you do need that extra Lufenia time. However, if you are very offensive, which I had to play that way this time around, then you should be completely fine here. The idea here is basically I saved my burst and my summon for the second wave. That way I would accumulate the I suppose the counter, the number counter for me to initiate chase in a very natural way without using any other characters that can force a chase. Now, obviously, characters that initiate a knockback like what we have now, Dark Knight Cecil, Cloud, you got Lael, you got Keys. There's a bunch of characters that can initiate a chase. So if you have one of those, I mean, Furion is very replaceable in this one, or even Gladio. You can have Cloud in your party composition if you are going to try and kill the second wave with your first party, which I have achieved with this party composition, by the way. So this is not the end all be all, but if you can at least get the enemies in the second wave down to maybe 30-20% mark before you go in with your second party, then you should be fine. But if you can do it, with one party to go all the way to the last wave, that is the very ideal situation. So let's talk about the last wave. Now, the last wave's Lufenia orb counter increases whenever you hit it with a dark element. So again, Dark Knight Cecil is a character which they are trying to feature here. I did use Dark Knight Cecil, and you have Golbez, who can do dark damage as well. And if you want an Imperil and a enchanter for the dark element, of course we have Mr. T himself. As long as his Psychus Tower special effect is at level 4, he will grant the party the dark enchant, so you have the dark element to actually spread to the entire party, and that way you won't have any trouble with the Lufenia orb. So there are a few more characters that do dark damage. Again, Shantoto is another one of those characters, so if you have Shantoto, you can get away with using her as well. But essentially, the last wave has 2 phases. It will kind of revive itself, or cure itself to the max, I guess, before it dies. So you just be careful with that, because it will actually try and attack you after you kill it the first time, and you can get broken if you're not too careful. Make sure at least one of your characters is up and has enough brave not to get broken. Ideally, you can paralyze the boss as well. This happened to me on I would say the hard fight, not the extreme fight. It's the middle of the road difficulty. So it goes. Was it easy, normal, and hard? I don't remember, but essentially, my Cloud did paralyze the Bahamut boss. I guess I should call it the Bahamut boss. I'm not really sure. But anyway, it was paralyzed. And I killed it. It still had the paralysis. And basically, it tried to attack, but it was paralyzed. So I don't know if that's going to work in the Lufenia stage. But it did work in the previous difficulty. But yeah, you can leave down in the comments below if it works for you. But it did happen to me. And that's one way of not getting attacked, I suppose, even though I'm not 100%, because I actually didn't paralyze it this time around. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt, please. So anyway, that is basically how you have to deal with the Lufenia orbs in this particular boss rushes, or for this boss rush, I should say. Other characters that I would highly recommend, apart from the ones I have here, again, it's just how you're going to deal with a lot of the Lufenia orbs. I mentioned Golbez already for the dark element, Shantoto. Who else is a dark element? I think that's pretty much all of it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all of it. There's not really a lot of dark elements. You can leave down in comments below, or you can use Realm as well if you have, and use Diabolus as your summon. That's another way to deal dark element damage. So yeah, there's a few options there. As for the chase, I've already mentioned a lot of the chase characters like Cloud. You have, of course, Dark Knight Cecil, Keys, Lael does that, and Ramza is coming up soon. He'll have some chase as well. You can initiate it with his LD as well. So but you know, you have to wait for Ramza if you want to use him on this particular boss rush. But there's definitely a few options. Kane can do it as well, you know, with his EX, although yeah, he's okay. He's okay at the moment. I wouldn't say he's that completely bad. Oh, how can I forget Leon? Leon does dark element damage as well. He's actually a featured character. How can I forget? So those are some of the options as well. And like I said, you know, try to be very efficient in your turns. Although Lightning is still packs quite a punch, she will use up a lot of the turns. Those free turns that she gets, that actually counts to the boss rush counter. So it's not like you're getting free turns anymore. In the turn count though, you know, you might have a free turn, but not exactly on the boss rush counter timer. So just be careful with that. All the free turns aren't exactly free turns anymore in this one. Although you can still do a ton of damage, it is something that you need to consider. Otherwise, who else can I really think of here? Yeah, X-Death is another one. You know, he's very useful. Gravity-based attacks and being able to do damage on bosses' turns. Those are very, very key factors here. Otherwise, you know, I'd probably be listing a lot of other characters, but I think that will stretch this video quite too long. So I think I will end the video right here. Please do remember to click like and subscribe again if you haven't already. It does help the channel, and you know, I would really, really appreciate it if you do. You can always follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. Leave down in the comments below if you have any other strategies. Let me know down there. I know Noctis can do pretty well here as well, seeing that his burst effect does, you know, follow-up attacks. So that's extra damage that you would not normally have. So let me know down in the comments below your two teams for this particular fight. I don't think it's possible to beat this with one team, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But yeah, I think that is it. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.